So, welcome to Authority Records Matching and Linking with the Stripping of Subfields. There's many ways we could have called this presentation, this webinar, that describes what happens in this functionality. But before we begin, let's very quickly just go through some administrative material, which we need to go through. But then we're going to jump into the real stuff real quickly. So what do we got here for some administrative material? This is our Alma 2025 Roadmap webinar series. We're well into it. We're mid-July now, so we're well into the sessions. We're not going to do any in August, knowing that a lot of people are on vacation during August. I'm going to send out the link to this to everybody, though I'm quite sure everybody's got this. So we've got all of our sessions here, all of the previous sessions, upcoming sessions, links to the material you can download, and also links to the recordings. The last column here is the recordings. So we are today on July 16th. Look at all these sessions we've had already. July 16th, and the new Alma Authority Records Matching and Linking in the August 2025 release. The presentation, which I will very briefly show just a few specific parts of it, you can download here. And either later today or tomorrow, we'll have the recording here. And we'll have the recording in other places as well, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Then we've got the Ex Libris Education Webinars page, officially called the Webinar and Learning Archive. I'm going to send that out in the chat as well, though I'm sure everybody's got that, and a simple Google search will find that as well. So this is a list of all of our upcoming as well as past webinars, and from here you can register for future ones, or you can view ones which already existed. For example, here's our previous session which we did last month, Alma Analytics Rapid ILL for Rapid ILL users. That's on demand, so you can just click here and watch now. Our session which we're doing now, if I do a search here for authorities or even part of the word authorities, so this is upcoming because there's still one this afternoon that hasn't started yet, and that will change from register to on demand. So you've got everything here. Then we've got, of course, our world famous YouTube channel. Here's the YouTube channel, and our most popular playlist, by the way, if I click here on the playlist, the most popular playlist, believe it or not, is the Alma 2025 Roadmap Webinar Series. The most popular YouTube channel for Ex Libris playlist ever is the Alma 2025 Roadmap Webinar Series. And there you've also got all of the sessions of the Alma 2025 Roadmap Webinar Series. You've got them all listed here on the right, and you can view them from there. So that covers our administrative material, and now we're ready to jump right into the real Alma. So what are we talking about today? We're talking about a new method, an optional new method. I'm stressing that's an optional new method. We're going to see that there's a parameter. If you want to use this new method, you define the parameter as true. So it's an optional new method of how bibliographic headings will link to authority headings by not including certain subfields. And that will become more clear as we go along. This is coming out in the August release. So the August release you will have next week. If we come here to the help, I'm clicking on the top right help, and we come to Alma release schedule. So we see here the August release will be out July 20th. That's in a mere 4 days. July 20th, that's Sunday. You'll have it on your sandbox. You'll have it in production on August 3rd. So you'll be able to look at this as of Sunday. I'm showing a release where I've already implemented that new data, new functionality. I've also got a release where we don't have that new functionality, so we're going to be able to compare them. I also have here something you don't have yet, but you will have on July 16th, and that is the documentation and the release notes. So let's look briefly here at the release notes and at the documentation. Then we're just going to start with some examples because the best way to show this, as with many functionalities, is an example. So this is the release notes. They will look a little different when you have it. This is just some internal information we've got here, and it's a draft. I'm just showing what we've already prepared for coming out on Sunday. So a new algorithm improves Mark 21 name title field matching by enabling partial linking. Okay, so the word improves, it does improve, but that really depends on your perspective. You may look at this and say, you know what, Ex Libris, it's very nice, but I don't want to use it. Or you might say, wow, that's great. Finally, you've done that. It has come from the user groups, from the user steering committees, focus groups. We have with us Erez Shabu. Erez, sorry for not introducing you earlier. We have with us Erez Shabu. Erez will be able to speak also about any development type aspects of this. But it improves it if this is what you want. But we'll save that for as we go along. So what it does, it is enables partial linking. It compares the bibliographic heading with the authority heading, and then it says if the bibliographic heading has more subfields than the heading in the authority record, let's start stripping or removing certain subfields from the bibliographic heading and see if there's a match. And it works according to a parameter, which we're going to look at. That parameter is called AUT name partial linking. So I have that set up in one of my environments here. If I come to configuration, resources, general, other settings, so there's a new parameter, which you will see as of Sunday, July 20th in your sandbox, called auth name partial linking. I have it defined as true. I have, like I stated, another environment. Here I'm in, what happened there? Here I'm in Chrome. I've got it set up here without the new functionality. So I'm Yulia without the functionality, and I'm Alicia with the functionality. Alicia couldn't join us last time. We're glad she could join us today. She had a previous engagement in our last session, but she's back. Thank you, Alicia, for being our staff user today. So that's the release notes. I'm not going to go more in depth there because we're going to see real examples. Then we've got the online help. And this I'm going to leave open because we're going to be referring to it as we go along. And this has a table here, which states if I have whatever field here is in the tagged column, and I have certain subfields, these removable subfields will be removed from the bibliographic heading for the purpose of matching only. They won't be removed from the actual data, even if you do open authority headings, which is F3, and copy it, they still will not be removed because we have true defined for that parameter we looked at a moment ago. And let's just start taking a look. So we're going to look at a little bit of this presentation. It's 89 slides. You're welcome to look at it on your own. And we're going to start with an example here of a 710 field. And we have here a subfield A, a subfield T, and a subfield K. And we're going to catalog a 710 with the first indicator 1. Let's start our first example where the functionality works like today. And then we're going to compare it with the new functionality. So I'm going to take a record here. Let's take a guide to Polish libraries and archives. And I spelled one word wrong. There we go. So we're going to do the same thing in this environment. Then we're going to do it in the environment where we have the new functionality. So if I come in here, and I catalog a 710 like this, 710 with the first indicator 1, with a subfield A, a subfield T, and a subfield K. And so we'll say new field. I don't have my quick links here. That's interesting. Pin to the quick links. Okay, add field 710 with a first indicator 1, and I catalog. Now, if I save this, save, we don't have a link to an authority record. You'll see here, no link to an authority record. Now I'm going to come to the environment where I do have this new functionality already in place. And here also, we will go to a guide to Polish libraries and archives. And here as well, we will edit the record. Did I spell something wrong here? No, I searched in the community zone. Okay. That just shows there are no Alma errors. There are only human errors. I chose the wrong scope. So here we go. We're going to add here also the 710. Oh, we got a nice example here from our session on linked data enrichment, those of you who may recall a few sessions ago. So here we are in a 710 first indicator 1. We're going to catalog the same exact. We're going to save. And here we do have a link. And notice it's a picture of a partial link. This is a picture of a full link. This is a picture of a partial link. So what happened here? This environment that I'm on now that does have the new functionality, we cataloged the same exact heading. We got a link. This environment here, I'm switching now to Chrome, to Yulia, and Yulia cataloged and did not get the link. What happened? First of all, let's do an F3 here, or an open authority headings, which is F3, and see what is the bibliographic heading. So, excuse me, what is the authority heading? So it says your entry would be here. This is my heading without the subfield K. And if I say view, this is what the heading looked like. Notice it does not have a subfield P. Notice a subfield K. That's a 710K. Just to remind ourselves, I'm sure a webinar of experienced librarians everybody already knows, but a 710 subfield K is the form of the subheading. So I cataloged the form of the subheading, but the actual authority record doesn't have a form of the subheading, doesn't have a subfield K, and therefore it did not link. However, when we're using the new functionality, which is here, and I'm in the same community zone using the same Alma, different environment, but the same Alma. So here we see also the same authority record, but even though there is not a subfield K in the authority heading, it still did link. There it is. There's no subfield K, but it linked in any case, and it kept my subfield K. So what happened? It saw the 710. I'm back to the online help. It saw the subfield 10. It said, there's no match, but let's start removing subfields beginning from the right of the heading. When I say from the right, so if I had a K and then an L and an M and an O and a P or any other subfields, it removes it from the right to the left. It removed the subfield K, and then it saw, okay, if I don't have the subfield K, I have a match. Let's give it a partial link. And it removed the K because for the 710, these are the subfields which it starts removing. These are the removable subfields, as it says in the column heading. And it removed, among others, the K. Now, let's do another little test before we stop for questions or comments. If I had taken the non-preferred term, so let's do again an F3 here, or a open authority headings. And let's look here. So the non-preferred term is Act of 27th June 1997 on libraries. And Let's cancel this. And I'm going to remove this field, or you know what? I'll even just change it around a tad just to remove that link. And now we don't have a link. So now if I had given the non-preferred term, it will still link. I'm going to get out of here and come back in just to give it a real refresh. We're going to give it the non-preferred term and we're going to save it. Not F3, we're just going to save it. So now it's got the non-preferred and we save it. And it links. It still has the non-preferred because that's functionality that existed already since 2012. That if you save a heading with a non-preferred term, it links to the authority record and then it changes to the preferred term when the job preferred term correction runs. And if I do F3, then it takes, or open authority headings, then it takes the preferred term. Let's do that. And we're going to see that even when I do F3, which is open authority headings, it will keep the subfield K. Watch this. So we'll say open authority headings. Here's my heading. It says your entry would be here because if there was an entry with that subfield K, it would be there. And I say select on this one here. It gave me the preferred term and it gave me it kept my subfield K. We're going to see more. I'm not going to go into the depth of exactly what happened there because we're going to go more in depth very soon. But suffice to say that if I say here, subfield A, Poland, sorry about that, subfield A, Poland, subfield T, I believe it was, my non-preferred term, subfield K, whatever I want. Let's even see some other examples here of a subfield K. Selections. Okay, let's give it a subfield K. And subfield K, selections. And I do the F3. And I select. Beautiful. And that will update to the preferred term when the job preferred term correction runs. And we're going to talk more about that. So I'm going to stop for a moment and see if there's any questions or comments. I saw one come in. Let's take a look here. Erez, you're free to start answering as well. Let's go into the chat and see. And does it complete the, I don't understand that question. Does it complete the complete authority heading? Is that what's new? What's new? Let me stress again what's new. Again, I'm going to stress what's new by comparing the current version with the new version. What's new is if I save this heading right here, and I'm using the new functionality, and I save this heading, it links to the authority heading. It linked to the authority heading because it stripped the subfield K, and the authority record does not have the subfield K. When I did it in the environment that does not have the new functionality, it doesn't link. Here, I save the record, it doesn't link. And the reason it doesn't link is because the authority record does not have this subfield K. That is what's new. When we do the F3 or we do the open authority headings, we see that this authority record does not have the subfield K, and therefore it didn't link. That is what's new. Let's take a look at another example, and it will start to get new. I'm keeping a watch on the time, or time on the watch. How do I say? Keeping an eye on the time, or an eye on my watch. In any case, because I want to show also more on when we add the non-preferred term and also local authority records. I've got an example here with a local authority record. So let's go on, and it will start to become clear if it's not already. Although there was only one question, so maybe it is already clear. Let's take an 810 field, and instead of a subfield K, let's take a subfield L. So we're going to use an 810 with a first indicator 2 and I have this should say $$A right here. So we've got the
Field are you
810
presenting?
and the C is English. Excuse me, the subfield L is English. So we're on an 810. Let's just take a look at the 810 just so
John?
we're all. Yes. Oh, you're not sharing. Okay,
Exactly.
thank you. All that time I wasn't sharing. Sorry about that. Okay. So we will share one more time. And that question about what is the new part, you'll see here. So now we're going to show in an 810. So we're coming to the 810. And 810. Now we're going to put in, oops, 810. Did I refresh that? Okay. So now we're putting in a series added entry, and we're going to include a subfield L, which is the language of the work. So let's start again in our environment where we don't have the new functionality. So let's just take our record here and release it so we don't get confused of what we are using and are not using. Here we'll say cancel, and I will remove this field so everything's clean for next time. Okay. So let's take, for example, here a record history. Okay, that should suffice. And in the title. And let's edit record. Okay, so let's add our 810. It's an 810 first indicator 2. So we'll add field. We've got the 810 first indicator 2. We've got our field here. Now, if I save this, no match. Why isn't there a match? Because there is no authority heading with Chabad Lubavitch organization, subfield L English. If I do F3 or open authority headings and I view it, here it is. It says your entry would be here. I'm taking the one before. I do have a 110 to match my 810. I do have a 110 which matches, but there is no subfield L. On the other hand, and this is answering the question of the person who asked, is that what's new? Here we're going to do the same thing. Let me get rid of this just to put everything back as it was. And let's take the same record. And we'll put in the same field. I'll just spell that properly. Okay. So here we are now. We're going to do the same exact activity. Add a field 810 with a first indicator 2. Put in our field. Now I save it. Now it does match. It does match because even though we saw when we said open authority headings and looked at the authority record, here it is, even though my authority record does not have a subfield L, here's my 110s, my 410s, doesn't have a subfield L, but it matched because the 810 removes certain fields for the purpose of matching. Here's the description of the 810. It removes these fields for the purpose of matching when I have that parameter defined as true, which we saw at the beginning. And among those fields is the L. So it looked and said, okay, there's no match. Let's start removing the S, the R, the O, the M, the L, etc. It removed the K. After removing the K, it saw that there is a match, and therefore it got the match. Same thing would have happened if I had cataloged a non-preferred term. Let's say here, I'm going to close that and cancel that. If I had cataloged here, let's get rid of this field, remove field. And I will save this. I'm going to release it and go back in just to refresh the whole system. So if I say here, again, let's go into that record and edit record and add an 810 field. 810 first indicator 2. Put in my field with a subfield L English. And I save that. It's a non-preferred term now. Save. Oh, I might have run into something with that. Let's do an F3 here and get a non-diacritic one here. Okay. Or, oh, there we go. Okay. And cancel. Copying, pasting those diacritics isn't always the best idea. Okay. Wonderful. We've got the match. So it's matching even though we did a non-preferred term. And shortly we will, I'm going to leave that there. And then we're going to see what happens when the preferred term correction job runs. But I'm going to stop for one moment the sharing and see if there's any questions or comments. And I will remember to reshare in a moment. Any questions or comments coming in, Erez? Let's check the chat here. Anything, Erez, you want to mention before I go on?
Yeah, I just want to mention one thing, please. Would you mind going back just to the table?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
So I will reshare here.
Okay, thank you very much. So I just want to emphasize that what we call partial linking, Yoel is just sharing, is referring to the options that when a no full match for whatever you cataloged is found, the systems goes and iteratively remove those that are removable subfields from right to left based on what is cataloged in your bibliographic headings. What we indicate here in the table as core subfields are subfields that are not removable, meaning if you hit a no match by removing iteratively from the right to left, one by one, and you hit the core subfields, this is where you stop. You cannot remove them anymore because those are subfields that are essential to the heading type. For example, the 711 is a conference. So A and a G and a Q, what Yoel is focused on, are essentials. So they cannot be removed. Only those that are removable subfields are iteratively removed one by one just to find a partial matching. So just to emphasize on that, so you understand what is the table and how to read it.
Thank you, Erez. Okay. Here, I'm going to leave this non-preferred term. Again, this matched because I'm going to do the F3 just to show. This matched because I have a non-preferred term and a subfield L. So when I say Control F or open authority headings, or F3, excuse me, F3 or open authority headings, I see here, this is the authority heading, and it does not have the subfield L. As you see here, this is the non-preferred right here, and it matched. I'm going to close this record. Let's get the MMS ID. And I'm going to run that job. Did I save this? Yeah, let me make sure I saved. Saved at 8:27 a.m. Okay, that was saved because that was, oh yeah, I saved it because that's what I showed, that I save it and it matches. I'm going to release this. Now the job preferred term correction, it runs every night. I'm going to run it manually. You can't run it manually. I have special permission. So if I come here, admin, and monitor jobs. So here you can all see what you have running for the authorities. The authority jobs are the link bib headings and the preferred term correction. They're under repository. I went into admin, manage jobs and sets, monitor jobs, filtered by repository. This is the preferred term correction. It's set to run every day at 4 a.m. I'm going to run it now, and it's going to be quite quick, actually. So she's already running there. And that's going to take all of the non-preferred terms, finalizing, it's already 100% done. Taking all of the non-preferred terms which are linked to an authority heading, oh, it's all done, and making it the preferred term. If I come back into this record now that that job ran, it should now have the preferred term. Let's go take a look at it record. And there it is. Before it had the Chabad Lubavitch with a KH. Now it's got the CH, and it didn't have the word Lubavitch. It only had the word Chabad. I could see the change if I say view related data, view versions. I am sharing, right? Yes. View versions. And we'll see here, let's view the previous versions. It used to have the non-preferred term, again with the subfield L, which is not in the authority heading. And it kept that subfield L, and it flipped it to the preferred term. And that's because of the job. We can also see it's because of the job. If I look here, it says modified by system at 7:31. 7:31 is the time of this environment, which happens to be in Amsterdam. Okay, are there questions or comments about the job flipping a non-preferred term? We still have a lot more to show, but are there any questions or comments on that? Okay, so
you'll only request to a link to the table, which, as you indicated in the beginning, it will be available in the online help.
oh, somebody asked about this. Yes, so this is in the page. The page you already have is working with authority records. So in the page working with authority records, we've added this. I'm looking at a future version. Just so I can show it to everybody. It's a draft. Same with the release notes. You don't have this you don't have the August release notes yet. You'll get them on Sunday. We put the release notes and the updated documentation out on the day that the release goes out to the sandbox. So that's going to be Sunday, July 20th. You'll have it then. I'm showing it here. You do have access to the PowerPoint, though, that shows everything. Okay, let's take another example. Let's move on. We did a 710, 810. Let's move on to the 30s. And let's try a 730. And let's just refresh ourselves. I know we're all experienced librarians here, but let's just refresh ourselves about the 730. So we're going to take a 730, which is an added entry field for a uniform title. By the way, I want to stress again, and feel free to add to this, Erez. This is not something we just said one day, hey guys, we're bored. Let's change the whole way the authority strategy linking works. This came from within, from the customer user group, with the authority control focus group, and went through all different kinds of versions until we got exactly what we're looking at now. So this is from the user group. So there's obviously a desire for this. So now we're going to do the 730 with a subfield P. A subfield P is a name or of a part of a section or work. Let's actually go to the PowerPoint. Make these nice fancy PowerPoints and don't even use them. So here we are. So let's take this one here. This is the Krakow Library supplement. And let's take, for example, I'm going to start again on the environment where I don't have this activated yet. Let me get rid of this one. Just want to keep my records clean. Okay. So let's take, for example, the book plates of Polish coin and metal collecting. And we'll just spell that properly. Okay. I'm going to leave this open in the metadata editor. But before that, let's go to our authorities and let's search for this in an 830. Well, let's start right here. We'll search only for that. Let's start with names in the community. Actually, this is a uniform title. Okay, so here we are. As you see here in this LC names authority record, there is no subfield P. No subfield P. So if I come and I catalog now, let's go show metadata editor. And I put in here the 730. Yeah, 730. A new field. And 730 with the first indicator 0. It's not going to match. And it's not going to match because we have that subfield P, which doesn't exist in the authority heading. And because it doesn't exist in the authority heading, there's no match. We do the same in our new environment, or let's say in the environment where we do have this nice functionality already set. We'll take that same record on the book plates of the Polish coin and metal. Save this one and get out of here. So again, we'll take book plates, Polish coin, and sorry about my spelling, everybody. Okay. And again, we add a new field, which is a 730 with a first indicator 0. Again, we already saw the authority record does not have a subfield P. We save, or I can do F3. You know, until now, I've always been doing save. Let's do F3. If I do the F3 here and I take it, I'm going to view it first. This is the really important part here. Person who asked at the beginning, what's new? Watch. View. I don't have a subfield P here. But when I select this, it copies that in and it kept my subfield P. Because for the purpose of the matching, it removed the subfield P. Let's go back there. Actually, I could just refresh here because I've got it already in my link. Okay, so it went and it removed the subfield P. Sorry, let's just go right there. Here we are. So it removed the subfield P here. That's a removable subfield, found a match, and made the link. I see we're getting towards the end. I want to show a local authority record. Erez, I trust that if there's any questions or comments, you're taking care of them. And if you want to stop, you'll tell me stop, you want to tell something.
Sure.
So let's move to a local authority record. So now I'm only going to show this in the environment where we do have the new functionality, because I've got this local authority record there. So this is the Jagiellonian University Institute of History, and I'm going to catalog it with Polish. Let's take a look at my local authorities first. So I'm going to come in here. And let me release this record. Let me get rid of this. Remove field. Save. Okay. So I happen to have a local authority. Let's go to authorities. And I'm searching in the institution. You see I have the institution scope here. This is a local authority record. First of all, we know it's a local authority record because I get it in the institution. We also know it's a local authority in my 035. I call it YLK underline LC names instead of the standard DLC or whatever may be there in a authority record straight from the Library of Congress. And I've added here the Jagiellonian University Institute of History, which is basically a translation. So let's see a couple of things. Let's actually take this and let's even add a little more. Let's say this is also, I'm going to add something that doesn't exist, just so we can see this really going. Add field. And let's say I find that people are searching for this in all kinds of other ways. They're searching it maybe even with a Y. So I will take this and I will call this with a Y. So now I've really got something different. And I save. So I have a local authority record. And if I search for that local authority record, Jagiellonian University Institute of History, so I get it. If I search that in the community, I'm switching tabs here, nothing. Now we're 100% sure that's a local authority record. I catalog now, show metadata editor. Let's catalog now a 710 first indicator 2. Oh, I've already got some examples here from yesterday. I'm going to remove those. Remove field, save. Okay. So now I come in here and I say add field, a 710, a subfield 2, and I add something else. Now for sure it's going to match because it's exactly like the authority heading. And if I say F3 or open authority headings, hold on, let me release and re-get this one. Let's say all titles. I just want to have a full refresh. So this had Polish coin, the book plates Polish coin. Okay. And edit. Okay, so we got a 710, first indicator 2, add field. Now, if I say F3, let's first save. So it linked. Now it has a full link. It has a full binoculars. And it linked, if I say open authority headings, it linked because it went to the Jagiellonian University Institute of History, which says it's local. But let's say now I add one of these fields here, which for the 710 are removable for the purposes of linking. CDNT, FLK. So all of these CD, etc. Let's take the date of treaty signing. Let's say I put in a subfield D, just so I have something. And I will say, let's cancel this. And now I put in a subfield D. And we save.
By the way, Yoel, your cataloging is 710, not a 73.
Okay. I think that's what we wanted here. In any case, so now it's still linked. It's still linked to the local authority record. And now it's no longer the full binoculars, it's a half a binoculars because it's partially linked. So it linked to the local authority record and it kept that subfield D. If I had done now the F3 or the open authority headings, and I would take it. Let's say select. Here it is. Says local. This is the non-preferred term. I know it's not preferred because it doesn't have the star next to it. And we say select. It took it, gave it the preferred term, kept it partially linked, didn't remove my subfield D, and save, and we've got the full link. Okay, I've showed everything I want to show here. I'm going to stop the sharing. Erez, if there's anything you want to mention about future developments or anything else you'd like, feel free. Let's see if there's any other questions or comments here. I don't see any other questions or comments. One was, can you please send me the link to the table? And one was asking what's new. I think we stressed enough what's new. If what's new is not clear enough, you can feel free to ask again. And that's all I've got. Erez, any final comments from you?
Yes.
Go
Okay,
ahead.
so a few points to add, but thank you for the presentation, Yoel. Okay, so just to emphasize this new mechanism, what we called a partial linking, okay? It's actually right now for a name and title authorized fields, okay? Not yet for subject. So you will see in the table that we indicate those fields. You will not see any 6xx fields.
Maybe I'll just show the table again just to bring their attention to it. So Erez is referring to the table here. Okay.
Right. So if you look at the title, it says name and title partial linking, the header of the table. Yeah. So partial linking for name and title headings. So indicates that currently this mechanism is not for subject, not yet. It will come later on. We started with a very we want to look at the narrow change, see how it is being preserved, and then perceived, and then moving on. Okay, so that is one thing. It only relates to text-based linking. If you are aware of, I'm not sure, we have two strategies in Alma. We have an ID-based linking and a text-based linking, which text-based as refers, we're doing a text matching. So of course, this is relates to that strategy. If you are working with a ID-based linking, this is not relevant for you, okay? This is very important thing. And then all the information we indicated, but not only that, more and more about it, because there is more details within. It will be available for you in the online help, in the release notes, and of course, you can read it carefully. And yeah, I think that's it.
Okay. So the recording will be available as stated on the Alma 2025 Roadmap Webinar Series page, also on the YouTube, also on the Ex Libris Education Webinars page. We'll send out a notification to the Alma list when it's ready, and that should be either later today or tomorrow. So thanks, everyone, and we hope to see you soon. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.